Hello guys and welcome back to another Disney Lorcana deck tech video. Today we've got a very exciting deck for you, combining two different archetypes into what I think is going to be an incredibly powerful deck. We've got Tamatoa Item Ramp. Let's get into it. All right, so this deck is called Tamatoa Items Ramp. So we'll get into Tamatoa first. This guy is 8 mana, which is why we're playing a bunch of ramp cards. He is in blue, which is where all the ramp is in right now, and it's very exciting. I am a big fan of green in Magic the Gathering, which is a ramp color, so I'm very excited for this as well. A lot of these blue cards are incredibly powerful and work very well together across these two archetypes. So he has 8 mana inkable, which is nice, but realistically, we're not going to be inking him. He has 5 power for 8 and 8 toughness. That 8 toughness is incredibly high. I believe it's the highest or one of the highest in the games. That 5 damage is very, very strong to be being able to hit your opponent back when they try to attack into this guy, because they're going to need to attack into this guy. He says, whenever you play this character and whenever he quests, you may return an item card from your discard to your hand, and the incredibly powerful effect, he gets +1 lore for each item you have in play. This is where the deck really comes together. We're going to use a bunch of the ramp cards in blue to be able to play this guy early and often, and we're going to play a bunch of the item cards that are also in blue and the item synergy cards to be able to let this guy quest for 7, 8, 9, 10 whenever we want to. On his 8 toughness, there's just nothing really they can do to kill him in one turn unless they take their entire board to kill him, and we've got backup win cons in case of that situation, and if they try to destroy our items, he's just going to get them back. This is an incredibly powerful effect, and we intend to abuse it. So starting off with our ramp package, we've got the ramp cards that we've already seen. If you guys are familiar with our other content before, we got the final cards from Disney Lorcana Spoiled. We've got One Jump Ahead, the 2 mana song. It's a song, we're typically not singing it actually. The 2 mana on turn 2 is very, very powerful. We want to be playing this on turn 2 as often as possible. In the mid to late game, we might be singing it, but most of the time we're just going to be playing it for the 2 mana. It's uninkable, but that's fine. It says put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exert it. So that means that we can't use that mana this turn. And notably, for all these cards that place a card into your inkwell from the top of your deck, you never get to look at the card. You do not know what you have put into your inkwell. Once the card is face down, you do not get to look at it. It is considered private information, even though it is your card. It's private from you. So you do got to keep that in mind, that when you're playing your cards face down from the top of your deck, you don't get to look at them ever. But it does help us play our 1 jump ahead on turn 2, and then we can play along with a mana card on turn 4, a 4 mana card. We've got some incredible 4 mana cards to ramp into. Next up for our ramp package, we've got Mickey Mouse, a 3 mana uninkable 1/3. He's a character, which is very useful. And when you play this character, you may put the top card of your inkwell, put a top card of your deck face down into your inkwell and exert it. He quests for 1, so that's like the backup game plan. He's a 1/3, so he's not doing much attacking. Basically, we put him onto the board, we get our ramp on, we start questing with him until our opponent decides to kill him, because they're going to have to eventually, because he's getting his points. And at that point, he's done his job. Once he's played the card down into inkwell and he's quested once, he's done his job. This lets us play our Mickey Mouse on turn. If we don't find our 1 jump ahead, we play mana on turn 1, play mana on turn 2, play Mickey on turn 3, play a 5 mana card on turn 4, which is incredibly powerful. We got some great 5 mana cards to play in this deck. Next up, we've got Belle. Belle is a 4 mana inkable princess. She is very, very powerful. She has 2 attack and 4 health. Not great stat lines for a 4 cost, but that doesn't matter. She's incredible. She says once during your turn, you may put an additional card from your hand in your inkwell face down. As we all know, you can only put 1 card from your hand that is inkable face down into your inkwell per turn. She allows you to do a second. This is an incredibly powerful effect. There's a lot of effects like this in Magic. They're all very, very strong. She also says, while you have 10 or more cards in your inkwell, this character gets +4 lore. So she just quests for 5, which is an incredible number. You do her 4 times and you have won the game. If you are able to string together the dream team of 1 jump ahead, you play a mana on turn 1, you play a mana on turn 2, you play 1 jump ahead, you play another mana. Then on turn 4, you play another mana. Then you play Belle, then you play another mana. And then you're at 5 mana on turn 3. This is incredible. You could even play a 1 mana card to follow up, because the ink that she puts down is untapped. And then on turn 4, you just go ink, and then you're so close to 10 mana already. She just puts in so much work. She is such an incredibly powerful card. Another incredibly powerful top end payoff, similar to our Tamatoa. After we've played all of our ramp cards, she is a ramp card that wins you the game after you've ramped. She helps you ramp and then wins you the game once you ramp. She's crazy. She's so incredibly powerful. She might end up getting bumped up to 4. Currently, I have her at 3 because you don't really want to see multiples of her. One of the problems with this card specifically is that it does take cards from your hand down into your inkwell. The Mickey Mouse and the 1 jump ahead take cards off the top of your deck, which means that you're not running out of cards that you have access to when you activate these cards. If you use Belle's effect to put cards down into your inkwell, you do run cards out of your hand, so you might not have many cards in your hand to then actually play your top end bombs after you've ramped with her, which is currently why she's only at 3. This deck does need to go through a couple more rounds of testing, admittedly, So she might get bumped up to 4 if I just want to see her so much more often. But currently, I've got her at 3, and I know she doesn't. The deck does not play very terribly with her at 3. All right, next up now to go into our items package. We've got Belle, a 3-mana inkable card at 2/3. She quests for 2, which is quite nice. Helps us get to our win condition a lot faster because realistically, we only need to get to like 14 lore, and then we just win the game in 1 turn. 14, 15 lore, we just win the game in 1 turn. So she helps us get there in the early game. And whenever this character quests, you can pay 1 less for the next item you play this turn. She goes into our items package. She plays with our Tamatoa. She helps us a lot, getting down we have a lot of items in this deck. We want to play them all out so that we can get our Tamatoa to be questing for as much lore as possible. Next up, we've got Ariel. She's uninkable at 4 mana, which is why we're only playing 3. She's a 3/3, so her stat lines are quite strong. She only quests for 1, which is not great, but whenever you play an item, you may ready this character. So she can quest for 3 or 4 lore in 1 turn because we've got so many cheap items. And if you have Belle on board as well, Belle quests for 2, makes one of your cards cost 1 less. Ariel quests for 1. Play an item, untap Ariel, Ariel quests for 2, play another item, untap Ariel, Ariel quests for 1 again. Like, it's just so crazy. You get so much lore so fast when you have these 2 princesses on the board at the same time. And they curve perfectly into each other, 3 mana, 4 mana. The Ariel also works great off of 1 jump ahead, play 1 jump ahead, play Ariel. Then next turn, you'll have 5 mana to work with. Quest her, play an item, quest her, play an item, quest her. You just get so much lore so fast. That's one of the reasons why I really like these 2 archetypes, the ramp and the items archetype, working together so well. Also, because we have Maurice, one of the better items payoff cards in the game, but he's 6 mana. That's pretty hard to get to pretty consistently unless you've got all these ramp cards. He has 6 mana inkable for a 2 attack, 7 toughness. His attack basically is just there to try and fight off the small guys that are going to be killing him. But that 7 toughness goes so strong. It just lasts so long. He quests for 2 as well. And whenever this character quests, we may pay 2 less for the next item you play this turn. This can mean that you play items for free. You're not going to be playing any of your 1 items for like -1 mana. Whatever you do for the next item, it does take 2 less from that 1 item. So if you quest with him, make sure to play your 2 or 3 or 4 mana items first before you play your 1 mana items. Otherwise, you will lose out on some of that effect. But also, whenever you play an item, you may draw a card. This is how we're able to chain together so many items on the board at once to get Tamatoa, and also to dig for Tamatoa, dig for Belle, when we just have so much on the board going for us. We play so many items so fast, so cheaply, quest for so much mana. And then, even if we don't win the game that turn, we've got Belle with a bunch of ink, questing for 5. We've got Tamatoa with a bunch of items, questing for 7, 8, 9. And this deck just works so well together. Now to get into our items. You've seen a lot of blue cards. What other color are we playing? We're playing purple. Mostly because we need to be able to draw cards in order to find our payoffs, find our ramp cards, and facilitate Belle playing so many cards out of hand to our inkwell. So we're playing purple because that is the best card draw in the game right now. We got White Rabbit's Pocket Watch, a 3 mana inkable item. A lot of our items are going to try to be inkable because we do need to still have an early game presence, even though we are mostly late game. And this says, exert it, pay 1 mana, chosen character gains rush this turn, which means they can challenge the turn that they're played. So this is very useful for our Tamatoa. We can play him down, we can start swinging with him, then next turn we can start questing for 1 million. This is very nice, adds to our item count, love that card. And then we've got Fishbone Quill, another one of our ramp cards, a 3 mana inkable card, which is crazy. This is an inkable card that can help you with mana. Same with Belle. It's because it uses other cards out of your hand to do the inking. You tap it, pay no mana, put any card from your hand face down into your inkwell. This allows you to play up to 3 cards in the same turn into your hand, into your inkwell. Very strong effects. Love that item. And also in the late game, it just sits there, and like this card eventually runs out of steam. You don't have any cards you want to put in your hand, from your hand into your inkwell. That's where Tamatoa comes in. So I really like this card. Is very good for the ramp deck, but it eventually runs out of steam. But in this deck, it still is creating value with Tamatoa. That's why I love combining these archetypes so well. Next up, we've got Eye of the Fates, a 4 mana inkable item. It just says tap it, chosen character gets +1 lore this turn. Love doing that. Allows our stuff like Maurice or our smaller princesses or something like Ariel. This item goes so crazy with Ariel. You already have Eye of the Fates on the board. You tap it, you give Ariel +1 lore for the turn. She quests for 2, you play another item, you untap her. She quests for 2, you play another item, you untap her. She quests for 2, 6 lore in 1 turn. That's so crazy. This card has a lot of combo potential, really pushes your Belle over the edge. This counts as 2 lore basically for Tamatoa because it's an item. It'll give him +1 lore for his effect. Then you give another +1 lore for Eye of the Fates, which is why we love having multiple copies of this card. It goes even crazier when you have multiples. There's no mana requirement on this, so you just tap it and you just start slamming lore into your opponent's face. This deck gets a lot of lore very fast. Once we've gotten past the early game ramp part of our game plan, we're just making so much lore. It's so quick. Next up, we've got the Magical Golden Flower, our 1 mana item, which is very useful for being able to commit items in the early game. This item is not terribly useful, but it does synergize quite well with Tamatoa's ability to bring back items from our discard pile. You can banish this item, which just sends it to discard pile. You remove up to 3 damage from chosen character. This can fully heal our Belle, it can help heal our Tamatoa, it can help heal our Maurice, or our Ariel, or our Jasmine, wherever our Jasmine went. Our Belle, sorry, not our Jasmine, our Belle. It's just so incredibly powerful with our Tamatoa to whenever he enters the battlefield or when he quests, you return an item from discard to hand. If you've got Maurice on board as well, whenever you play an item, you draw a card. So you have Maurice, you play this, you draw a card, you pop it, you heal somebody, you play Tamatoa, you draw it, you play it, you draw a card, you pop it, you heal somebody, Tamatoa quest, you add it back to hand, you play it, you draw a card. It loops very well. Once we have our top end on the board, that card is incredible synergy. Also, it counts as an item count in the early game. Very nice. Next up, for even more items, we got Scepter of Arendelle. It says tap chosen character gains support this turn. This is another one of our 1 mana items. This effect is not as powerful as something like the Magical Golden Flower or our other effects, but this deck does struggle to deal with our opponent's board. A lot of our guys do not have a lot of attack, they have a lot of health, and they quest for a decent amount. That's the point of this deck, but sometimes you do need to be able to actually take out your opponent's board. So being able to give one of your characters support this turn, whenever they quest, you may add their power to another chosen character's power this turn. Goes, yet again, everything in this deck goes so incredibly powerfully with Ariel. Ariel is 3 power, and she's going to quest multiple times. You have Scepter on board, you play Ariel, you have the Scepter, give Ariel support, she quests, give one of your guys +3, play another item, untap Ariel, she quests again, gives another one of your guys +3, kill anything in the game. It's just, Ariel goes so crazy. It's so unfortunate that she's not inkable. Otherwise, I would feel confident playing 4, but I found myself just bricking on way too many Ariels, not being able to ink so many things, having our high mana value cards that we aren't playing a lot of because we don't want to be drawing them in the early game. We want to be drawing our ramp, and unfortunately, just found that 3 seemed to be the sweet spot for her, so that we're not bricking on her. But I do really like what she does for the deck. Next up, we've got Coconut Baskets, a 2 mana inkable item. It says whenever you play a character, remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. This helps all of our characters with their giant stat line, going with our healing flower, just keeping our guys healthy. We don't play a lot of characters because we have to max out on so many items. So every time one of our characters dies, it is a bigger blow than in most decks. We're playing a lot less characters than most decks are, so we really want to keep them healthy, which is where the high health comes in and all the healing effects. And with that, you can see we're playing 23 items. This is so many items in the deck, but that's to help facilitate Tamatoa, helps facilitate Maurice, and help facilitate Ariel and Belle. This deck the synergies work so well together. A lot of these items play well with our ramp package. They play obviously well with the items package. The ramp items play well with the items package. It's just an incredible combination of 2 different archetypes that are all in the same color. So there's almost no downside to playing them. You just need to figure out the supporting color to go with them. And for that, we've chosen Amethyst and Purple, just because we need to be drawing a lot of cards, and Purple seems to be the best at doing that. So to kick off our songs, we've got Friends on the Other Side. We're playing 3 copies of Friends on the Other Side. This card is just incredible. It just draws you so many cards over the course of the game. It's a song, so your characters can tap for free. A lot of our characters are... like Ariel is very good at singing this. She can sing it by tapping herself, draw 2 cards. You pay that for free, so if you draw into some items, you can play the items, untap her, then she starts questing. Ariel just goes... Every single card in this deck goes so crazy with Ariel. But yeah, just being able to keep cards in your hand for Belle, for the Scepter, so that we can... Where the Scepter? For the Fishbone Quill, sorry. Just to be able to put cards from your hand down into your inkwell and still not running out of cards in hand is the big worry with those cards. Next up, we've got Develop Your Brain, a very good early game play to just add consistency to the deck. It lets you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in your hand and the other on the bottom. Just very good. Finding our ramp cards in the early game. Mulliganing for Develop Your Brain, 1 Jump Ahead, or Mickey Mouse is very important in this deck. Develop Your Brain can search for your 1 Jump Ahead or your Mickey Mouse. Not hitting your ramp cards in this deck does feel very bad. So you do want to take a lot of mulligans in the early game to guarantee that you hit those cards, and Develop Your Brain just helps you find them in the early game. Next up, for another ramp payoff, we've got Mufasa. My printer printed this guy out looking a little steel. He is blue. I do promise you can see the little symbol there. He has 6 mana for a 4/6 that quests for 3. Just goes with the game plan of having some more payoffs in case we accidentally ink the top deck for some of our high-end guys. Just making sure that we have more ways to win the game between our Belle, our Maurice, our Tamatoa, our Ariel, and now our Mufasa. We're not going to run out of all these. We might hit 1 or 2 of them, but we're going to always have options in the late game. Then to round out our early game, we've got Dr. Facilier. Just needed something to be able to actually fight for the board. The 4 toughness Challenger 2 here works very, very well with things like Coconut Basket and the Healing Flower. Healing Flower able to fully heal the 3 health. Coconut Basket able to take a lot of the damage off when we play other characters. Facilier here just helps us control the early game if we don't draw our ramp spells to kind of stall out until we find them, or in the mid game with all the healing that we've got to be able to control our opponent's early game plays, take them off the board, while our mid and late game threats that are coming down in the mid game can help take care of their mid game. Just a very, very useful effect in this deck. And we've got Olaf as our trusty little 1-drop. This is mostly for synergy with Coconut Baskets. Pay the 1 mana, you heal somebody for 2, they start swinging back in. Very, very useful. He's also inkable, so in the mid to late game, he's often going to be mana. Often also in the early game, he will end up being mana. He is a 1/3, so he goes along with the stat line. He can be fully healed by a Coconut Basket if he's attacking into their 2 attack guys. You just play him with their Olaf, or play a 2 mana card, play a Facilier to fully heal him, and then just keep swinging. It does have a lot of synergy with the deck, even though, admittedly, most of the time, he's just ink. And that rounds out the deck for us today. We've got so many items in this deck, a bunch of ramp cards and ramp payoffs, a bunch of item cards and item payoffs. This deck just quests for so much lore so fast. If you really like playing ramp, playing big dudes way faster than you should, getting so much lore that your opponent can't even attempt to stop you, even with lore control tools, this deck is just unstoppable once it gets going. You like your high roll cards, you like being able to some of the games you just open the best hand of the game and you just actually there's nothing that your opponent can do. There's no point in playing the game. You just show them your opening 7 and you win the game, basically. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but with this deck, it sometimes really does feel like you just open the nuts and you just can't lose. This deck is incredibly powerful. It has so many different ways to win. If you like Disney Lorcana, keep your eyes here on the channel. We've got a bunch more decks coming out, a bunch more gameplay coming out, some pack openings coming your way. But showing off this deck, showing off a lot of the other decks that we've been showing off on the channel in actual physical gameplay. That'll be coming to you guys very quick. And with that, we will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Huh?